Don't mind missing.
All right, so loss ratio, two different formulas. Can someone tell me what the top of the first formula is?
Losses?
Yes, incurred losses. Good.
I'm not really awake, but
Well, you did
that
good.
was
I know.
You did good. We huddle at the same time every day, guys.
Yep.
All right. What about the bottom number?
premium.
Yes.
Which isn't earned? Is it earned premium?
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
So earned premium is actually the bottom number for both of these. But what's the other way we can figure out what incurred losses are? By multiplying.
I haven't finished my coffee.
So let's talk about incurred losses. So
Yeah.
how else can we measure incurred losses? What other financial data can we look at?
Can we do like historical trends?
Can I give you a hint?
Yeah, you can.
Ah, very good, David Festa. Frequency and severity.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, then in regards to loss ratio relativity, if agent X has a loss ratio of 55%, is this a good loss ratio?
Well, in comparison to what?
Ah, very good.
That's right. It's like,
You win, Diane.
Yay!
All right, so when we talk about relativity, it's relative to what? So is it relative to the state loss ratio? Is it relative to the countrywide loss ratio?
It's the state in the line of business.
Yes. Yep. So 55% could or could not be good based on what the state is performing at right now. So if the state's at a 42, this is a bad.
That's right. The state's at a 65, it's a good.
Yep, absolutely. So even in those states that we have pressures where agents are running 120% loss ratio, that actually might be relatively good. Relatively.
Yes.
Based on how the state is performing. So talk to me guys about how we can move these levers. So how does this involve you? Loss ratio and loss ratio relativity.
Well, obviously with earned premium, proper rate pursuit.
Yep.
Making sure we're getting the right rate for the risk.
Rate
We're getting
pursuit.
the dollars in the door.
It's knowing our loss pressures in certain states.
Yep.
Not a fault losses in Georgia.
And taking on the right risks too. Obviously, if we're not getting the rate for the risk,
So new business and renewal business actions. Yep. Good. Anything else we can do to move the dial on these?
The phone calls, decisions we make on the calls.
Yep, absolutely. New business, renewal business actions. Yep. Very good. Can we do anything about frequency and severity? Other than what you have on the board right now? Is there any other way we can affect either of these? Terry? That's what you get for being quiet. Is there any way we can affect severity?
hello?
Sorry, you're breaking up, Scotty.
Oh. Severity, Terry, is there any way we can affect the severities on a policy?
Truly affected, no. We can look at deductibles, that type of thing, but historically we found that higher deductibles means
People file bigger claims.
higher risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a great point, though, because it
Yes.
takes me back to the exception you made in Alabama where you had them take a $10,000 deductible while they were getting their roof fixed, so pretty much we were off of the roof risk, which was a great way that we can affect severity as well. Obviously, we're not looking to modify the risk so it fits our appetite, but certainly something we can take into consideration if we can't take action elsewhere.
And frequency, we have, while we don't have control over it, we can certainly mitigate it by
Yes.
looking at, if we're looking at risks that have a higher frequency than others, those are the ones that we want to target to find some way to get off of. So while we don't have complete control over it, the actions we take can affect it.
You bet. Great job, guys.
Because we're awesome.
You are awesome.
Best
We're the
team
best
ever.
team ever. All right, great. So, awesome work on that, guys. I'll update the OneNote huddle board so that way you have the information at hand if you need it. And if there's something, obviously, that you would like to see for next week's Financial Wednesday, just let me know, and we'll pull it out and do a little little training on it. And we can pull people from other departments and have them visit and talk about the financial information that you're looking for. All right, so
I've got a, I have to contact Shane on the app written versus effective date states, because most of us don't know what that is. So, I'm gonna see what I can do for tomorrow.
this is a great opportunity to have corporate underwriting visit and present at our huddle. And I think they'll be able to explain it in a way that's very simple and everybody will understand and be able to apply that knowledge going forward. So that's great. I'm glad you're pursuing that, Donna. And let me know if I can help you in any way.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Festa's handwriting on this one. Is that right? Yeah.
So, just really quick, Terry, I know that you have an hour off the phone for the PAC 2. Is that, now that's just PAC 2. That's all she does for that hour off the phone, right? Terry? PAC 2, Terry, you take an hour off the phone just to do that, correct?
I have not got that on the schedule for this week. No.
Okay.
I was doing that the past few weeks to get caught up in current.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty much there.
Okay. Because
So this week I am not taking an hour off. I'm looking at with my regular work.
Okay, because I talked to Peter this morning. Peter, I think you and I have both seen the OIR form. The new procedure that we have is not having hiccups, it's just having, I think, procedure problems. So going forward, it might be something to look into of one of us taking maybe an hour off a week and just trying to either catch up on it or to, you know, mitigate them coming in. I know that Donna's gotten phone calls, you've gotten phone calls, Diane got it at the same time, so there's a lot coming through the door. So I think that, you know, we need to either get something out that
I think that their expectations are a little high too. They figure that since, you know, they're sending these forms and they're gonna be done right away.
Okay.
And I don't think that they realize that, and I try to explain to the agents that, you know, we had a 45 to 60 day
Sure.
turnaround
Yeah.
before, and now we're 7 to 10 days.
business days.
And whereas we didn't, where we, you know, yeah, it's proud.
Yeah. So I'm hearing that the expectations around the Florida OIR
Right.
processing is a problem, so we're
Yes.
going to elevate that to the board. And then the other thing I'm hearing is that the Florida OIRs, does that not fit the scheme of the demand and capacity tool?
It takes a little bit longer, and I
Okay.
think that we need to update it.
Do we need to separate that into its own new field?
I think so, because there's days where you can get 3 or 4 of them. Am I right, Peter? I know I'll get, you know.
They're a little more time consuming than working just any ordinary thing out of the Trexel inbox. And we're going through some growing pains with this stuff. The agents are still learning what we need.
Sure.
So there's a lot of back and forth with email, phone calls, link. I mean, there's a
Yes.
lot of time that's going into the stuff right now. So
Sure.
hopefully as time goes on, it'll get better as they start to learn what's acceptable and what's not. I can tell you that most of them are getting declined.
Okay.
Probably
How
90%
long
of them.
does it take you to do one?
That was going to be my next question, or do we have a couple today that we could, we're right
I
inside
know.
time.
Being that demanding capacity
Yeah.
thing, you know.
I would say to work one out of Trexel, you're talking minimum 10 minutes. That's minimum.
I agree with Peter.
Yeah, that is minimum.
And I have a question too. If you're seeing commonalities between the things that are coming in that you're rejecting, is there any way the two of you, like maybe as a best practice, can put together some kind of like stock stationery saying, you know, thank you for your request, however, it's missing this.
That's a wonderful suggestion.
And I would say send it to not only the consultant, but CC their supervisor.
Yeah.
Because you've got a virtual trail that yes,
Right.
we've looked at, yes, we've gotten it, we've looked at it. And even as part of your stationery, include that part of KA that says the OIR form plus photographs, or including
Yeah.
photographs, which I think is the #1 problem you guys are having, correct? With the
Well,
OIR
if it's
forms?
the form, sometimes we get the form, it's an old form, so it's not
Yep.
acceptable.
Yeah.
Most of them are because the protection's not adequate. That's the bulk of them.
Okay.
Most of the forms we get, the protection's not,
They just don't have
they
the,
don't have all the protection for all the windows and doors, and
Yep.
they're just not.
And
they
I
don't
wouldn't-
get that. They don't get that. They think because
Yeah.
they sent us a form and it's complete, that's good
Sure.
enough, and we're gonna approve it.
Well, they don't know the form, that's the problem. They
And
get it, and they
that's-
think, well, it's fine, send it in.
Yeah.
And the expectation, as Donna said, and Peter, I think everyone said it, that it's, they don't understand that we've actually
It still
toned
needs to be
down
acceptable.
this,
Right.
But it still has to be acceptable.
Yeah, exactly, so we're gonna hold it to a higher standard, that OIR form.
Yeah. So, it was a great conversation. 3 things came out of that. We got a problem, we got a best practice, and in addition to the demand and capacity tool, and it sounds like that from our end, despite the problem that's up on the board, we can probably do a better job of communicating back and explaining and educating the consultants on why it's not acceptable. Because I wouldn't accept a consultant to, I wouldn't expect them to evaluate the form,
I agree,
obviously.
yeah.
But certainly we can provide another level of education to help them know for the next time why we would say no to one of those forms.
I have a question. So does that, is this a WorkSmart thing that you're working on?
No, but we can definitely elevate that recommendation, Diane Doherty.
I can start, we have a Work Smart meeting this afternoon, actually, so we can take it to that.
Now, really quick, and I apologize, we wouldn't work smart the acceptance of the OIR form, we would work smart
The working of the.
the
Yeah.
working, as in, this is how you send it in, correct? Because Peter and I are
Well,
gonna take care of
Now,
it.
you're talking a Work Smart document for sales? No. Because at this point in time, there are only 2 people who are working the OIR forms at this
That's
point
what
in
I'm
time.
saying.
So is it worth putting together a Work Smart document, or is it more of them putting their heads together to develop, this is how we want the workflow to go?
So the way I
KA's
would
got
think
that,
this,
We've got that out in KA for them already.
Right. But how do you communicate it to the sales force? Because it's out there, but they're obviously not reading it, so you need to find a way
okay,
to
time out.
reinforce it.
Conversations over 30 seconds go up on the problem board.
There you go.
Okay, all right.
What I would say is that we have capacity in some of these areas. Do we really need to only have 2 people working that OIR form, or can we make a WorkSmart document to more efficiently spread that out and balance the workload throughout the team? So that is something I want you guys to take into consideration, because I don't make those calls. But something that you guys definitely want to think about, is it easy enough to pull up a WorkSmart 1-page document and say, okay, I can go through these OIR forms, and then we can spread the wealth a little bit. For sales, we do have a KA module out there. I just don't foresee them pulling up an additional document to verify whether or not they're following the process, because if we have a very well laid out process, to your point, Peter, and they're not following it now, adding another level of education or reference point is really not going to help.
Yeah, and I explain it on every email. When
Yep.
I decline something, I tell them exactly why. This is why we're
Yes.
declining it, because of this. So they're getting that, they're getting a little bit of education on every one we decline.
And there's a sales partnership meeting coming up with underwriting, so I'm gonna ask to attend, and I'm gonna grab one of you guys to come with me so we can talk through this process a little better and have this communicated broadly to the sales organization, try to help some of those issues that we're having.
Can we review the KA's reference document that they have, just maybe to add a line that, you know, the home still has to meet all requirements?
Yeah.
Just getting the inspection doesn't make it eligible.
Terry, I actually wrote the KA guidelines for
Okay.
Florida, and that's in there.
Okay.
So the thing is they're just
They don't
not
read it.
they're just not reading it. They just know that their process has changed. They don't need to request a pre-inspection anymore. They just need to get this form. But that's about as far as they've read. That's the impression I'm getting.
And let's just keep the perspective on
When
this,
they
guys.
call us and ask us, we need to reemphasize with them.
Yes.
Yes.
Emphasize with the customer.
Yep. To set the right expectation.
Requirement, the inspection alone is not going to get them through.
Correct.
So this is like a grassroots educational opportunity for us to educate all of the consultants that we're getting on the phone. But if you guys remember back, so just to put this in perspective, we used to underwrite 50 states. It was not easy. So writing for 50 states as well, with all of the nuances in each state, is difficult, and we all know, you know, the pressures that they're under with sales plan. So while I can appreciate they're not reading it, they're also writing for 50 states, and there's probably
They should be reading it.
16 things for each state that they have to remember. So that's why they have that reference material, so that way they can access it easily when they're on the call. But we can reinforce that at the sales call. We'll handle the issue with, that'll be part of the design and test for the problem that we have up on the board with the issues that we're having now. And then anything else you guys can think of, can we change it to a flow chart? How can we make it easier for the consultants? Can we change cues messaging? Anything along those lines to try and help them out and make it as easy as possible would be great. All right. So think about it. We can talk about it at the problem-solving meeting tomorrow. And anything else before we close it out?